Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Boxing Authorities. Joining me at the desk, as always, Luther Dupree Jr., Smoking Jim Frazier, and my name is Claudio Relsano. Well, guys, the Olympics wrapped up. Your thoughts on the Olympics?
Listen,
anybody
man,
stand out?
Keyshawn Davis, I think he's a great young welterweight in that weight range. Listen, I thought he won. I thought he beat the Cuban, Andy Cruz or whatever. You know, this guy showed a lot. You know, he knocked out a guy, a couple fights. You know, he had turned pro, so he had about 3 fights. But I was so impressed with his poise, with everything. Even after they robbed him, and they did rob him, yeah, he said, I'm still a champion because of what I've come through. Listen, we're talking about a man who, you know, had some issues, struggled with mental health issues. Sure. Matter of fact, ended up in a couple inpatient institutions. Still fought through it, came back, got a silver medal. I think he should have got that gold. You know, the Cubans had this thing where they just throw punches and just raise their hand. You know, the scoring in amateur is absolute criminal. So many guys, Roy Jones was robbed, Shakur Stevenson. You know, all these guys were robbed going back years and years. There's a bias against U.S. fighters. Keyshawn Davis should have a gold. Torres also showed out. We had a lot of talent, but I think Keyshawn Davis is the one who's going to be a champion in a few years. He sparred with some of the greats, the Gervonta Davises, the Earl Spence. He is the future. Keep an eye out for him, Claudio.
All right. No, I'm with you. I respect his maturity level, the way he handles things, and I'm with you. I definitely think, and that's important too. You got to have the mental ability to go for it, and I think he does. Smoking Jim.
Well, Luther spent a lot of time on the silver medalist, but
he should have been gold.
A guy I like, and there's no mental illness here, is Richard Torres Jr. You know, his father and his grandfather were fighters. His dad fought in the Olympic trials in '84. I love the kid. Not only is he 6'2" in the super heavyweight, but I think that he's somebody that you can get behind. This is a guy that's a southpaw, and I tell you what, man, he is just outstanding. He got an outstanding punch. He's a power puncher. He can knock you out with either hand, man. And I tell you what, this guy got an overhand left that's one of the best, you know, I ever seen. And I tell you what, he is the future of an already outstanding heavyweight division.
Hold on, what medal did he get?
I didn't spend that much time.
No. What medal did he get?
He got
silver.
He got
so
silver.
I don't want to hear that.
Yeah,
Listen, but the referee in that fight was taking points from him left and right. The referee gave him an 8 count.
He should have gotten
points. He didn't deserve to have a point taken. That guy was holding, and he never got a point taken.
Yeah, he never got to.
You know, that big guy, 6'8", leaning like he was Fury on him.
He's had a history fighting that kid. But that's the
that guy knocked him out cold before.
Yeah, he took him out on the stretcher, which I like. But see, that kind of fighter will always give him a problem because that guy was a southpaw. And see, when Torres, he's one of them guys that'll duck down to get that overhand right, which is perfect for a straight left at the end of the punch, and that's what was hurting him with that taller southpaw. But he won't see that in the heavyweight division for the most part.
Jim, you make a good point. This is a question that just off the top of my head, you start talking about technical stuff. Do you think these guys like a Torres or Keyshawn, do you think they should stay with the trainers they have now when they go pro, or maybe get a guy who's more established in the pro game?
Well, the first guy you mentioned should stay with his therapist as well. But listen, I always believe if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I thought that Roy Jones Jr. did a great job firing his dad because his dad was really holding back his career, was moving him too slow. And, you know, and Roy and his dad never really got along. But I think for the most part, if you have a trainer, you know what I mean? Cassius Clay did a great job with Angelo Dundee. I really believe that Angelo Dundee was the only trainer that ever was born that really could deal with Muhammad Ali and Bundini Brown. Can you imagine that, Cam?
fun camp for sure. Angela had to turn the hearing aids off.
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think? Do you think they should stay with who they are, or maybe, hey, I'm moving to the next level. I need a next level team.
I don't mind a switch because the scoring system in
Right,
amateur is so whack and so disgraceful. Yes, I don't mind them changing to another fighter, another trainer when they turn pro because it's a different ball game. You know, amateurs, I still don't understand it. One thing I do like, after each round, they show you what the scores have, so you don't have the robberies
let me ask you something.
that you do
bring
in
a
pros.
good thing. There was talk about that, doing that in the pros.
They need to.
They need to, but all hell could break loose in the corners, in the stands.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, Judge Frazier? It was we won that round.
You know what? It would stop the corruption.
True.
When you see stuff that happens against, you know, a Fox fight this past
But do you
weekend,
think that they would? What's baseball trying to do? Quicken the game. I think boxing. I really do believe that if the cornerman said Judge Frazier had a 10-9 against his guys, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then Judge Frazier's just going to sit there and not say anything, and that guy's going to keep on. There's going to be a distraction.
I like it. It's transparent.
I understand.
You won't
You're right.
have a guy dominating a fight, and then it's 117, 111, and he lost the fight. No, you can see it as it happens.
You're
And
accountable.
you can see, hey, wait, this guy's, what is he watching?
Yeah.
We just saw this round, and he lost.
But you're 1,000%
I
right.
think we need more transparency in boxing to stop some of the corruption that goes on in some of
I'm
these,
with you.
some of these
But
organizations.
do you think it would cause other problems? You're fixing one problem, Jim.
I agree with you.
But you're going to cause all kind of other problems.
Yeah, I
Then the
don't
fighter's going to be, that referee's going to have to get in. Hey, wait, you guys can't be talking. The boxers are still waiting.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of interruptions. I just don't see it being smooth. Although I agree with you.
It depends on, is there a lot of confusion at the Olympics? They just flashed the score, what judge had it, 10-9, and they move on.
That's not professional boxing.
Yeah, there's money involved in
It's
this.
not professional boxing.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what I'm saying. If you want the sport to change from this, you know, where some people think it's corrupt, you know, some people get robbed.
It's always been corrupt.
It's always been. There's always been a sense of corruption, but now
because I can be bought as a judge. I can be bought.
and that's why you don't judge fights, and that's why you're not a referee. You want to see somebody carried out on a stretcher. Yes, we all know this, Jim.
Now, you know, you mentioned Keyshawn, you mentioned Torres. Something that all three of us, I know we agree on, is painting a picture of these guys, who they are. You know, we knew who Sugar Ray was coming out, Muhammad Ali, who he was coming out, Evander and Roy Jones. And even though with Roy Jones it was more that he got, you know, stuck with a bad decision, George Foreman, Joe Frazier. I don't see these guys. Oscar De La Hoya, I think, was the last big-name Olympian. Am I right?
Yeah, well, you know.
And then this story about his mom, which attracted me. What I'm saying is, you know, we've talked about it on camera, off camera. Tyson, Pazienza, Mancini, all these guys, they had a story that Buster, for me, okay, that's my guy. Everybody has a story, okay? These guys, and we've said it on the show before, they need to be on these late night shows. They need to do just a 3-minute piece before they fight. So they're introduced to people. They should have PR guys. I said that about Deontay Wilder. His daughter wasn't doing well at the time. You know, he was talking about that. Get him out there so people they have somebody to root for, not just the fighter, but the person. And I think they should do that with the Olympics. What do you think?
I think it would be nice, but this year was kind of different. There was no fans. It's in Tokyo, so these guys are fighting at
but
1,
they're watching
2
it.
in the morning.
They're watching it.
Listen. You know, these Olympics, it would have been hard to do it.
Okay.
And I think, as I told you guys before, you all think the old way of thinking,
It worked.
getting more on late night.
It worked.
Well, why isn't it happening now?
You tell me. That's what my question is.
How did it work? Well, you know,
social media is just a quick blurb. Make a story.
Social media is where it's at.
But a guy. Okay, wait a minute. Deontay Wilder's not going to go
is one
on.
of the guys with a major contract. He didn't have an Olympic background.
Who?
Jake Paul. They have a contract with Showtime
but
on pay-per-view.
I get that. But my point is,
how many fighters have that, Claudio?
I understand what you're saying.
How
But like a guy
many
like
fighters have
Deontay
that?
Wilder, again, let's talk about his daughter. What's he going to go on Twitter and say, my daughter's sick? No, you have to have a piece on him. Talk to the daughter, show her. Yeah. So
Listen,
people
Claudio,
pull at their
people are
heartstrings.
turning away from the TV. I'm trying to tell you guys that.
Well, do
Social
something.
media is where it's at. You know,
well, then do something on social media. Do it on YouTube.
Listen, the big
have
fights
a YouTube
now.
channel.
Listen, they have YouTube fighters
but then how
fighting
come these
TikTokers
guys,
right now on pay-per-view. You know that, right?
Of course.
That's where it's at.
Right.
Those guys are getting more pay-per-views than these regular boxers.
I know, but
so
well, then they should have a PR person.
The promoters need to move it towards social media and push that more. The
Okay,
promoters aren't doing their job. Bob Arum has been around a long time. Did the Game Pass?
But is Heyman doing it?
Heyman's not a promoter. He's an advisor.
And then advise your promoter to do it.
Listen, they are their own promoters. They have to do it. And they do have a social media presence. Right now, Claudio, boxing is, what would you say in terms of sports popularity? It's not number one. It's not put. When you look at ESPN, how many times you see fights? We see fights all the time. They push the NFL. They push that. So that's where they need to move. Social media and get it on these sports sites.
I'm saying even before the fight starts. Okay, Buster against Tyson. They had a piece about Buster Douglas and his mother. Again, that got me. That was it.
You didn't see the 24/7 Mayweathers and all that, all access? They do
right,
that, Claudio.
and that's good. But they should do it more for these younger guys, what I'm trying to say. You got to promote. Again,
build it up.
He who has a thing to sell and goes and whispers in a well is not apt to get the dollars as he who climbs a tree and hollers. Yeah. So promote. You got. I'm sure these guys have a story. I'm sure they have something that can tug at the heartstrings and say, "That's my guy." I'm not just rooting for the fighter. I'm rooting for the person.
Claudio.
Old school thinking is good school thinking.
Claudio.
It's good school thinking.
You guys got to
go on YouTube then. Forget about Jimmy Kimmel and those other clowns. Go on YouTube. Have a YouTube channel.
They do. And some of them do. Claudio, you guys aren't there yet.
Who?
Everyone
besides
you mentioned.
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul.
Forget him. I'm talking about.
Well, all these guys.
Well, then they should promote it more. They did a
Listen,
little story about the Charlos.
Listen.
Okay, let them know who they are.
Let them
know who their hairdresser is.
They have training with the Lions. Claudio, you're not there yet.
They got to do more.
That's where boxing lives on social media right now. There are whole platforms dedicated to boxing. You know, on regular TV, you may have Max on Boxing, which is one of the main ones on ESPN. But
this is the one you got to be on right here.
This is the one right here. You know, this is the one. And we're also on social media. This is where it's at,
But
Claudio.
even again, I'll say it again, Donnie Lalonde, leaves home at age 15, abusive home. Owns real estate at age 19. Canadian light heavyweight champ 23. World light heavyweight champ 27. There was an attraction. People said, that's my guy. I was abused, so that's my guy. Or, not me, I wasn't abused, but I'm saying somebody out there was. And
we got people like Jim, when we talk about Keyshawn Davis and his struggles, he would make fun of
Keyshawn Davis.
He's a guy that should be pushed out there.
Right, that's
now,
what I'm saying.
The reason I know about him is because social media. He's been on a number of platforms. But
what about the older people? The guys in their 40s, 50s, 60s.
Well, you all need to come on social media. That's what has to happen.
But why not hit everybody? Go on TV. Go on social media. Hey, I'm going to be on Jimmy Kimmel's show tonight. I'm going to be on the Boxing Authority's show. Check it out.
What's the last boxer that's been on those shows?
That's what I'm saying.
They're not supporting it.
They should.
They should.
Look at Vinny. We showed a clip on Vinny the last show on Jay Leno.
And Jay Leno has been off air how many years?
I'm just saying.
That's what
they say. Old school like it's a bad thing. Old school can be good school. Like in baseball, real quick. Obviously, you guys know me in baseball. We won't get into that. Wait a minute. Baseball is new school. Analytics. The game it's awful compared to the boys I grew up watching. They would have chewed these guys up. Right. They would have chewed them up. Wouldn't have been close. Trust me when I tell you about that. So old school. If you say, Claudio, you're old school. Well, because old school was good.
Yes,
if it was bad, then I wouldn't say it. But again, you got to get these guys out.
You got to change with the time.
Okay, are we going to hear about Keyshawn Davis? No. We're going to hear about Torres? No. There's all kind of
possibly. Like I said, I knew about them before
they should make a game plan.
How do you know they don't? How do you know they don't have a game plan?
Sure, we knew who the hell Sugar Ray Leonard was.
Yeah, we sure did.
But back then,
they
had the games on
Howard Johnson
on regular
Howard
TV.
Davis. Yeah, no, here's what I'm saying. You hit the ground running. I tell my players, and I think Tomlin just said it recently about the Pittsburgh Steelers, don't come to camp to get in shape. Chuck Noll used to say it too. Don't come to camp to get in shape. Come to camp in shape. Don't go to the pros and hope to make your name. Go to the pros with a name already. Sugar Ray, his first fight, everybody knew who he was. He made a nice chunk of change because he had the smile and the Olympic gold and all that kind of stuff. People knew who he was. And we only had 3 channels back then.
What you're really getting at is the USA Olympics is not pushing these people as much.
All right.
That's where it needs to happen.
Don't depend on US Olympics. Depend
How
on
did
yourself.
you know about them? Because they were pushing them.
Right. But obviously they're not doing that.
Back then.
So Davis's people have to get together.
USA Olympics team, and you know this, Claudio, they need to up their game.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because if Keyshawn wasn't able to play because he wasn't able to fight because he turned pro, he wouldn't have got this silver medal. We probably wouldn't have had any medals at that weight division. So they need to step up their game with their trainers, with the promotion, with everything. It's not big like it used to be.
They have to look at themselves as a company.
When's the last time the USA Olympic team has won a gold medal? Clarissa Shields?
Yeah.
Andre Ward? That's years and years ago.
I get that.
So they have to do that. They have to push that more.
But, okay, Jones was a silver medalist, but he was able to get his name out there. But my point is, you can't depend on the U.S. Olympic people because they have everybody to deal with. Keyshawn Davis is a business. I'm my own corporation. Let me get the right people to help me promote. I got a story. I had some issues. I had to go see this therapist. And there's a lot of people who would be inspired by this young man. You see what I'm trying to say? He's got a story to tell that would touch people. I'm into that. Again, for the zillionth time, I know you guys are tired of hearing it, but Buster Douglas, I knew who he was, but I didn't know who he was. And then when I heard that story about his mom, I said, that's my guy to this day. And he beat Tyson in 1990. I still love Buster Douglas. He still has impacted my life. I'm getting goosebumps to this second. You got to let people know. Yeah, am I lying? Am I lying? You have to let people know who these people are. Not just some good fighter who's 17-0.
Claudio, I agree.
Have a game plan.
Yes, have a game plan.
Get into an office and say, okay,
but listen,
Jim, you're my PR guy.
You're saying it as if they're not trying. They're trying.
Are we hearing about
media.
it? They're not doing a good job.
Okay, but
hire me and Jim. And Luther, too.
Listen, I believe they're trying, but the sport of boxing is not getting pushed. You know, these guys, you know, we have a heavyweight champion, and we have guys like you and Smoker Jim that slander him. You know, a U.S. heavyweight
we don't
champion.
slander Fury.
He's not a U.S. champion. He's from the UK.
Oh, US,
now
okay.
you're claiming him. Where's he at right now?
Bought some
He's
cars.
back in the UK.
He put money in the
back
US.
in the UK.
He bought money. He bought
like
cars
you
in the
are
United
not supporting
States.
U.S.
He
boxing.
bought cars in
We
the
have a
United
heavyweight.
States.
We have a young heavyweight, Jared Big Baby Anderson, and Jim is already starting to slander on him. That's the issue. You want these guys to support, but you guys are slandering the U.S. heavyweight champions right now.
Any publicity is good publicity.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's true. That's very true.
Well, we know if there's somebody to slander, Jim's going to find a way. Smoker Jim's going to find a way to cook them, especially if they're black.
Before we go to our next break, let me ask you guys a question, and we kind of talked about it a little bit. We touched on it, but you know, Cuba, United States, Russia in its day. You know, Mexico's had some nice fighters. Is it the training of those and their philosophies, or is it the fighter? Because am I wrong, Jim, in saying that it seems like each country in Luther has their own philosophy of fighting? You mentioned Cuba, what they do. United States has their thing. What do you think is the more important thing, Jim? Is it the training, the school, the philosophy that they teach these guys, or is it the fighter?
It's so much pride. I mean, you go back, even though he didn't have much of an amateur career, but Roberto Duran always fought for his country. Manny Pacquiao was fighting for his country. Mm-hmm. The guys from Cuba, man, they grow up, they're raised, they're bred, they go to school to be fighters, man. They want to be one of the great fighters. Listen, there's 10 million people in Cuba. And I remember Stevenson.
Teofilo, yeah.
Stevenson said when they offered him $1 million, which was
back
a lot
then,
of money
back then,
and he could have knocked anybody out. And he says, "Why would I want to leave for $1 million when I got the respect and love of 8 million Cubans?"
And they were crazy about it.
They was pride. Yeah, back in the day, the Russians. You know, these guys really had pride. I see it in the Ireland fighters now. They're young. They had one gold medalist in the history of Ireland, and he's training the boxers over there and doing a nice job.
Luther, what do you think about that? Is it the training or is it the fighters? Their philosophy.
You know, I think it's a lot to do with the training, as I mentioned earlier. Some of the training hasn't been up to par. I know a couple people who wanted to train with USA Boxing, and for one reason or another, they were not allowed to. And I think there's also a bias against USA. Now, I mean, you look at some of these fighters, you look at the fight, and you think the USA guy wins.
Yeah.
But
a couple
the Cubans,
times it's happened.
Yeah, a couple times. The Cubans, like you said, every time they throw a punch, it's more. You just throw a punch, put your arm up.
Any facts today, Lou, or you just throwing out of
those are facts. When's the last time we won a gold medal?
Yeah, when's the last time we earned one? We used to
Keyshawn
win them all the
Davis.
time.
Yes.
We used to win them all the time.
Because it was a different training and different, and some of the
No,
better
because we had
athletes were
different
going in there.
talent. We had different
Yeah,
talent.
some of the top talent went to boxing, but I think with the CETE and everything,
What?
some of the best athletes aren't in the sport of boxing.
What? Are you just throwing stuff out?
Are the best athletes in boxing right now? Yes or no?
Yeah,
No,
there's
they're
some
not.
great athletes
No,
in boxing.
Are the best?
There's a lot of
I said,
guys-
are the
They
best?
ain't hungry.
Are the best?
They ain't hungry.
Are the best?
Is this the depression?
But
Or
there's a
the-
lot
or
of
the-
guys from other sports coming into boxing.
And why is that? They didn't succeed at other
Right.
sports, and now they're coming back to boxing. Right. I think because boxing's such a dedicated. You
have to be
take such a
dedicated.
beating.
Yeah.
You think about it. What if LeBron James, a 6'8", 265-pound, was in boxing?
He get knocked out.
He-
Yeah,
yeah.
he
No,
get knocked
if you
out.
have
grew
a
up as a
chance.
He would
boxer,
flop for real.
You don't know that.
He would flop
Again,
for real.
No, you
I
don't know.
forgot it's an athlete, a brother. You're gonna trash him. What I'm saying, the best athletes, these guys built a Dwight Howard,
Yeah,
full
oh,
of muscle.
jeez.
These guys.
But look
have
at
not
Lamar
grown to
Odom.
that.
He's fighting. Would he have done anything for real?
Come on now, Lamar Odom's a whole different case. He's a whole different case.
Well, you know,
And he's doing
there's
celebrity
weight
boxing.
classes in boxing. I told a guy one time that I work with. I work.
So-
I told a guy one time that I work with.
Oh, here we go.
He said, he
work?
was a little dude. He was a little dude. He says, yeah. He says, Smoking Jim, if I was as big as that guy, I'd be heavyweight champ of the world. I said, they got smaller weight classes. You know what I mean? Lou, they got smaller weight classes.
Listen, and yeah, like an Antonio
What
Brown.
featherweight is playing
Antonio
football
Brown.
and basketball?
And
What
listen,
featherweight is playing football and basketball?
Plenty. You ever seen any cornerbacks? They're not the biggest guys.
126-pound quarterback.
Well, I'm saying those are little guys. Those are little guys.
They look
Not
like they all
feather-
play
I
for
didn't
the
say
Steelers.
featherweight, but I'm saying light heavyweight, cruiserweight.
I'm
yes,
talking
those
about
are we ain't talking
featherweights.
about guys that.
Why ain't the featherweights winning?
Smoking
Why ain't the
Jim, you
lightweights
weigh
winning?
more than them in second grade. We're not talking about 122 pounds.
They're still producing them in the United States. Why ain't they winning it at the Olympics? Because they're not hungry.
Because listen.
Not only not hungry, they don't want to live that disciplined
Exactly,
Spartan
it's
life.
a
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
The boxing life is special.
Yeah,
That's
it
why
really
I
is.
don't trash these boxers like you do.
And they have
Smoking Jim.
parents like you that make excuses. Oh, you ain't gonna win. They take it. Yeah,
no,
you ain't gonna
no.
win. They don't like you as fighters.
you
Don't
gotta
run.
be
Don't run at
dedicated.
6 o'clock this
You gotta
morning.
be
Somebody
dedicated.
may shoot you in the butt.
There's definitely a USA bias. Come
Huh?
on. Anybody who saw that Keyshawn Davis fight would know he won. There's definitely a USA bias against our fighters.
I thought he got
Even
beat.
with the scores on TV.
Even as far back as
I
Roy
thought he got
Jones.
beat.
Yeah.
What is the
Well, Roy
line you
Jones
said?
fought in South Korea.
Yeah.
He
Well,
fought in South
we just
Korea.
fought in Japan.
He's lucky to get
We
out
just
of here
fought in
live.
Japan. We just fought in Japan at 1 o'clock in the morning, Jim. So what are you saying? You're backing me up. A lot of robberies of USA boxers, unfortunately.
I thought they called it right at this event.
And you were wrong. You were asleep at 1 o'clock, Jim.
Oh, no
You
doubt
didn't watch
about it.
that.
I wanted to get home till 6.
Well, when we come back from our break, we're going to talk about Roy Jones Jr., the legendary Olympic boxer, and obviously one of the greatest of all time in pro boxing. We'll be right back with the Boxing Authorities. Okay, we've talked a lot about Roy Jones, and he is our legend of the week. When I think of Roy Jones Jr., I think of an octopus with different arms, different angles. I mean, he was quick. I loved what he used to do with head movement, with his body movement. If he was square, it's because he wanted to hot dog a little bit, but he was a hard guy to hit, except for Tarver and who was the other guy? I forgot his name. But when he got hit, he did get hit, but that's okay. We're going to talk about the greatness of Roy Jones Jr.
About the old out of his prime, Roy. Stop it.
Not when he fought Tarver.
Well, he had just come down from heavyweight. He had just done something nobody thought was
Spin.
even
What do you call
possible.
him? The spin
The
doctor.
doctor
The
spin.
doctor
It's
spin.
just true.
Roy Jones Jr., without question, is one of I'd say Muhammad Ali was definitely the most athletic, him and Sugar Ray Leonard. Ooh. And I think Jones is right there. I used to like the way he fought. But your comments about Roy Jones Jr.?
Listen, you were talking about one of my favorite fighters. I get emotional when people
Let me
talk
see the
about Roy
goosebumps.
Jones.
Let me see, okay.
You're about to come out, Claudio. Listen, we're talking about a guy that was brought up through this sport. speed like no other.
Yeah.
This guy would play basketball
before he fought Eric Lucas,
and then fight a boxing match and knock him out.
Eric Lucas was a super middleweight champion. He went and played a pro basketball game, and he fought later on that day against Lucas.
Listen, he would do his chicken fighting. He would do things you weren't supposed to do. 2 hands behind your back, head right here. I think we have some of the clips. Can we run some of Roy Jones clips? Just a special athlete. Things, just power in both hands. He was the smoothest guy in there. Look at that. Hit somebody just stand there. Hands
I don't
down.
like this with Vinny.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. This is bad, man. Vinny took a beat in this one, but he was in it against a special athlete. Look at this.
Vinny
just turned around.
Vinny fought the wrong fight, too, but go ahead.
Look at that. 2 hands down, chicken fighting. He made his own style. Now
Southpaw
he's
sometimes.
Southpaw.
Great
he would
rapper,
switch.
too.
No paw. Great rappers. He would do it. He would do anything. Look at that. Did you see that? He has 2 hands down, and look, he would fake like he's going up top.
Griffin,
Griffin. He just destroyed him. 1 loss he shouldn't have. James Toney tried to do it, and James Toney shouldn't have done it. Got hit with that left hook. Power in both hands. He could take you out with anything. Body shot. He faked like he's going. Look at that.
Deval?
Right to the body. Listen, he was an
did that to
amazing
Virgil Hill, I
athlete.
think. He hit him in the body.
Yes. He was just an amazing athlete, man. I just can't say enough about him. We had a chance to broadcast
Good
a
guy,
couple
too.
matches.
Very nice guy.
You know, solid player. Solid guy, and I like what he's doing now. He's training somebody from this area, Tika Hemingway. He's training with her.
One time he didn't pay us.
I don't remember that. It wasn't Roy who didn't pay us. It was somebody else, Jim. Roy was always a man of his word, but I definitely loved everything about him, man. He was a special athlete. I don't think he gets enough credit. People talk about the greatest of his era. They act like it's just Floyd and nobody else.
No.
Roy Jones was amazing. I had him #1 pound for pound for years and years. You're talking about a middleweight who went up to heavyweight and destroyed
John
Ruiz.
Who before the fight, I'll never forget, John Ruiz and my dad and I were like shocked. He said, I'm going to outbox Roy Jones Jr.
He was scared. A middleweight went up there and intimidated a heavyweight.
He should have clubbed him. And I'll say this. I love Vinny. Vinny fought the wrong fight against Jones. He should have made it a telephone booth fight because Vinny had the ability to be a boxer, slugger, a dancer, but against Jones, you're not going to.
Nobody was going to beat Roy Jones at that time. I don't care what kind of fight you fought. He was the best. I'd take him at that middleweight against anyone.
It was
he was in the prime.
With Vinny.
Yeah, super.
But your thoughts on Roy Jones Jr.?
I love. You know what? I love the kid. You know what I mean? Sugar Ray, you talking about athletes. Sugar Ray Robinson, if anybody ever seen him tap dancing, he could have been a professional dancer. Just great. Cassius Clay. Muhammad Ali wasn't a great athlete, but he was a great athlete in the ring. He couldn't play basketball,
just
football.
You can't play basketball.
No, he couldn't play basketball, but he was a great athlete in the ring.
A big guy like that could move.
He couldn't play any other sport.
I think what Jim's saying, like there's been some boxers and some baseball. LeBron James, great athlete, but do you ever see him throw out the first pitch?
Oh,
and he looked off.
I saw him in high school as a receiver. He would have been the greatest tight end of all time.
Baseball's a different ball. You have to be a great athlete to be a baseball player.
There's a lot of guys who can't throw a baseball.
But what I'm saying is Roy Jones was a great football player. He was a great basketball player, great boxer. Listen, this guy was probably one of the most athletic, if not the greatest athlete to ever get in the ring. Reflexes, this and that.
Excellent reflexes, good point.
Yeah, some of the things that they said about Cassius Clay and Cassius X, they said about Roy Jones. Because they never got hit. Roy Jones is the only boxer, I think, in professional boxing history that went a whole round without getting hit. Yeah. And they said later on that they didn't know if they said Cassius Clay, once he gets hit, he'll get knocked out. Well, he proved when he became Muhammad Ali, he could take a punch. Roy Jones Jr. proved he got glass in his chin. PPG. Pittsburgh.
No, stop.
Glass company.
Listen, we're not going to do that here.
No, he do got glass in his chin.
Listen, that was out of prime Roy Jones.
I think he didn't get hit.
He was out of his prime.
He never got hit. Once his reflexes slowed down. Once his reflexes slowed down, he got hit.
When your reflexes are going, that means you're out of your prime.
Great fighter.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He just didn't have the greatest chin.
Great fighter. Listen. Roy Jones did a lot of things that you weren't supposed to do as a boxer.
How did Muhammad Ali do out of his prime?
No question.
How did Muhammad Ali do out of his prime?
We're not comparing him to Muhammad Ali.
No, I'm saying he didn't have no glass chin. He didn't have no glass chin.
We're talking about the greatest of all time. I don't believe Roy Jones had a glass chin.
Well, he got knocked out.
I think he fought too long. He fought too long. Jim, he was out of his prime. He should have retired along.
He just fought Tyson.
Oh, that's celebrity. That's celebrity thing. He fought too long. He should have retired. You know, once he got older, guys were able to hit him. His defense wasn't there. He didn't have all the skills. His reflexes were gone.
Yeah, I agree.
But the chin,
because he was out of his prime.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He didn't have a chin in his prime, though.
If you're talking about the in prime Roy Jones, nobody could hit him.
Exactly.
But once he got hit, he proved that there was a lot.
There's a lot of guys out of their prime that start getting beat.
Yeah, I tell you what, I wouldn't walk around Roy with my shoes off.
A lot of guys out of their prime got beat. Stop that.
All right. Well, we're going to take another break, and we come back. Interesting segment: the best actors who were boxers, and could they have fought professionally? We're right back with the boxing authorities. Welcome back to the Boxing Authorities. You know, through the years, I think boxers and boxing have made the best movies because it's one-on-one. And there's a lot of hurdles to overcome, a lot of just a tough life. And it really is a microcosm of life, getting knocked down, getting back up. So they have made the best boxing movies. But there's been a lot of great actors who look pretty good in the ring, sometimes not so good, but a lot of them did look good. And I have a list of a lot of them, but the guy who sticks out the most to me was the prettiest fighter, built, and Jim and I talk about it all the time, feet, footwork, just glided around the ring and had a hell of a jab. And he had a little bit of that Roy Jones Jr., Muhammad Ali cockiness to him. And that's Apollo Creed and Carl Weathers, who played professional, who played professional football for the Raiders.
Had a cup of coffee, yeah.
Yeah, but you know the thing is,
he made it. Jim
he made it. He was there.
More slander.
But I'm telling you, I've never seen a guy. I mean, I don't know besides Muhammad, but let's just talk about that size, a heavyweight. Muhammad Ali, and who am I going to say? Buster Douglas. I know every damn show I talk about Buster, but that's okay.
Go put Jonathan Rice in there while you're
No,
at
I ain't
it.
going to do that. I ain't going to do that.
You wouldn't fight.
Jim's friend. Jim's friend, Jonathan. If
Jim,
he'd have lost,
the barbershop.
Wait a minute. If he'd have lost, would you have said he was your friend?
He would have never known.
Jim would have said, who the hell is Jonathan Rice?
Let him lose. Watch how bad he rips him.
Right. Exactly. He's like Don King. He comes to the ring with the winner, and he leaves. If he leaves,
he'll come in with one guy with the belt. Whoever has the belt, he's going out with him.
So anyway, but I don't know. You tell me. Name me a heavyweight. I'm not saying he could have taken a punch. I don't know. Because obviously he didn't take a punch against the Russian. But you tell me, who moved better as a heavyweight?
Nobody.
Than Carl Weathers.
Nobody.
Carl Weathers looked good out there in that
Look
ring.
good.
I mean, but those Rocky movies, man.
But you still have to be physical. You still have to dance and move and be shifty and throw jabs. He used to cock his head and do that. I mean, he was an unbelievable athlete.
Well, yeah, you're right. He was a football player, played in the NFL, smoking Jim. No matter how long he played in the NFL,
and he
had
was
a great
player in Action Jackson.
Action Jackson was a great movie, man. Expendables as well. He's done them all, man. But he's just an incredible athlete. Oh, so I like Rocky had the most. I liked how Rocky just took a beating in there and would come back. Rocky. Those movies were excellent, man. Look at this. Him and Mr. T, that might have been my favorite.
Mr. T. I forgot about including Mr. T. He looked good.
Clubber Lang, as they call him. I think Deontay Wilder's going to be his son in the next Creed movie or something like that. So it should be some great things. Mr. T played that role well.
And he was
tight.
Wasn't
a mover. He was tight.
No, but he was tight.
More of just a slugger.
Yeah, right.
You know, and he's the only one who beat Rocky in the movie. Nobody else beat him.
Apollo Creed.
That's new.
Apollo Creed? I thought it was a draw. Oh, the first fight.
Okay.
All right.
Jack Reese was referee of that one.
What about Hillary Swank?
I got her on the list. Yeah. I thought she looked good.
She did look
she
good.
lost in that movie.
Yeah,
but
she
she
took
looked
a beating,
good.
but she looked
and one thing you have, Joe Namath, my favorite quarterback of all time, said, great quarterbacks are made, not born. I don't necessarily agree with that. You have to have X amount of physical ability. Then you can hone your skills. You can work hard and become, whoever you want. But, again, with Weathers. Now, Stallone was rough around the edges. I wouldn't say he was pretty at all. Even when his body was built, in was it 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 10, he still wasn't as fluid as two scouts sitting here. Jim and I look for fluidity. We look for athleticism, which could be the same as fluidity. and Rocky was a banger.
Right,
You know,
but that wasn't the style he was going.
No,
He was
you're
going
right.
for that hard
and they
nose,
tried to make
gritty.
him that.
He
Right,
got
they
it
tried
through
to
the
make
mud.
him that. And it was a
Philly,
great point in Rocky
you know.
3 where Apollo tried to make him more of a boxer.
Right,
and
that wasn't him. You know, he tried to do that pretty stuff. No,
Right,
he was
that's
a
not him.
grounder.
Right,
Got it
right,
from the mud. So
who are some of the people that you stand out?
Well,
Actors.
I got to start with, don't forget that Martin Lawrence fought the Hitman
Oh,
Hearn in a sitcom.
No, he was good. Martin Lawrence was good.
He
boxed for real.
Come on, man.
He boxed for real.
Did you see Martin's face after the fight? He ain't look good.
And don't forget, Red Fox looked good. He
Yeah.
performed at Sanford.
right.
You could, if you gonna say that, what about when who was that? Sammy Davis fought Wilt Chamberlain or somebody. Remember Sammy
I
Davis?
don't remember none of that.
Oh, no, see, Sammy
remember
Davis
that.
was in there. You
And-
might as well
And
throw him in
Jabbar
there.
had that reach. I'm not Jabbar, Chamberlain.
But Jake,
Gyllenhaal.
yeah.
There he is.
Now, former cruiserweight world champion Rayco War Saunders also starred in that movie.
Yes,
He told me
yes.
that Jake was the real deal, but I can't get over Brokeback Mountain. But a guy that I think that could have been great, Claudio, how about Robert De Niro? I like his demeanor. The guy was he's just a serious guy. I think he would have took the training serious.
Yeah, he did.
He wouldn't have missed any of the nutrition that you need, food,
Right.
any point. This is a guy, the way he act, I believe that he would have been a great one. Archie Moore said that Marlon Brando could have been a contender.
Waterfront, yeah.
But for me, like you said, Roberto Clemente used to
For
say,
me, very
for
good.
me.
You remember that.
Yeah,
All
I remember
right.
everything
All
that comes
right.
out. Every syllable comes out of your mouth. For me, the guy that could have been great. Now, I've seen him when he was a bouncer. He used to do these contests. He was the #1. He could destroy anybody. All the stuff that you see today, he used to do for money was Mr. T.
Yeah.
Mr. T was a bad man, and I believe that Mr. T could have been a great heavyweight
I'm with you.
fighter.
Again, it doesn't take us long to see, like, he wasn't flailing away. He
Right,
was
right.
tight.
Yeah.
And he looked good. He threw good, quick jabs. And he had good footwork. I mean, I agree with you 1,000%.
I think at one time he had a record. He ran through more plate glass windows to get to his man than anybody. Yeah.
Now, how about Will Smith, who had a very difficult job in portraying Muhammad Ali?
Soft.
Yeah.
Listen,
Entanglement.
listen.
Another entanglement.
See, now you getting caught up in all that. But he played the heck out of that role. I mean, he was moving pretty good there. You know, he had the size. He looked good. He looked kind of fluid. So
That's what I'm
I
saying.
think he pulled it off.
He pulled it off.
No, I wouldn't
Put him
say
in the
he's
ring.
up there
No,
with those
no.
guys. No.
You hit it on the
Even
head.
though he's
He
Philly
pulled it off.
born and all that.
Right.
No,
No.
he's not on that level.
He
for
pulled it
sure.
off. He
And
pulled
like
it
you
off.
said, Mr. T, I think his record is way better than anybody else on there.
Right, he fought for
You know,
real.
He was
took a
bouncing a
punch.
lot of people
Yeah,
out of them clubs.
Yeah.
A guy that, again, being biased, but Miles Teller, who starred in Vinny Paz's movie Bleed for this, he hung around Vinny at least as much as he could.
Right.
But in the ring, forget about
thought he
him
was
sounding.
terrible.
What's that?
I thought he was terrible.
You know, he didn't look too bad. He sounded like
okay.
Vinny.
Maybe I'm getting the Roberto Duran movie and Vinny's
Hands
movie
of
mixed
Stone.
up. Yeah.
You're talking about Usher when he played Sugar Ray Leonard.
Would you consider Usher on this? No.
No, I didn't have him on here. No,
Usher didn't make the list.
No, but I thought Miles Teller did it. You know, he didn't. You know, Vinny, he didn't. Again, it didn't stand out. He couldn't. I mean, he did all right. I thought he pulled it off. The whole movie he did great because he sounded like Vinny, the mannerisms like Vinny. But I thought he did pretty
You
good.
ever seen the movie The Great White Hope?
Yes.
Not that original one, the one with
David Wayans.
Yeah, David Wayans.
Yeah. Great White Height.
Yeah,
Great White Height.
Great White Hope was a
You know,
good one.
also you put Denzel Washington on this list now for Hurricane.
Oh yeah, I
Listen,
didn't think about that.
listen.
Good job, Luther.
No, actually Claudio put it on there. Listen,
You ain't just here for your good looks, huh?
Jim doesn't look at the script.
Jim doesn't read. You talk about Floyd. All right, listen. Denzel can play every part.
Yes.
You know,
Malcolm
he
X.
had the part, but as far as him in the boxing
No.
ring, that didn't sell.
Right,
He was older than all these other
Right,
guys
right,
as
right.
well when he played it.
Right.
You
But,
didn't like him in Hurricane?
I mean, he's
But
a
he did a
great
great
actor.
job, yeah.
I'm saying, but as far as the ring work,
Yeah.
no. I like no. He did better and he got game with the basketball. The boxing, I couldn't
Well, you know,
I couldn't
he
see him in
played
the boxing
college
ring.
basketball.
Right.
For a
Right, but he's
year.
talking about boxing.
For a
I'm
year.
talking
He
about
dropped
boxing. We're
out.
talking about when it's Hurricane Carter.
What about Michael B. Jordan? Creed.
You know what? He surprised
He's improving
me. He surprised me because that, and then and he plays those. He's a trained actor more than these other guys.
I got one for you.
He played Killmonger in Black Panther. So
I got one for y'all. I'm telling you. Who's the guy that went to jail for $14 million tax evasion? Wesley Snipes. In that movie in the jail. Yeah. Oh man, did he look good? Didn't he look?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm telling you.
What about Penitentiary from way back in your day?
No, I never seen that.
You saw Penitentiary. Your cousin was in Penitentiary. Didn't they make that movie about him? I thought his name was Frazier in that movie.
But Wesley Snipes.
Do we agree though that Carl Weathers?
Carl Weathers was special.
Okay, do you think he could have fought for real?
I think so. He was a natural athlete.
He could have.
He could have had a cup of coffee.
You think so?
Just like in the NFL. Just like the NFL.
He was an NBA natural born athlete. He could have played any sport.
Now T actually got hit, so we know he could actually
do that.
Mr. T could take a punch and give a punch.
But real quick,
he's still in shape.
Oh yeah. I know. Like I said, with Vinny was what do they call it? Technical advisor for the movie, but he actually got in the ring with Miles Teller and trained him. Okay? Wow. And he said, at first he said, oh man, but Miles kept getting better and better. Jab was good, but he moved better. Because Vinny would stop it right there. No, I wouldn't do that. No boxer would do that. Do this, do that. Right. And Vinny used to fight sometimes, I don't want to say awkwardly, but a little bit different, as Roberto Duran said.
I loved him.
But I think these guys did a great job. They didn't embarrass themselves. No. You knew that they were that character. They were that fighter. But, we're going to take another break, and we come back, we're going to do one of our most popular segments, the Mailbag. Right back with the Boxing Authorities. Okay, we're right back from the break. Boxing Authorities, Mailbag, one of our, as I said, most popular segments. We kind of touched on this, all three of us. Worst boxing decision that sticks out.
Wow, there's so many, man. I'm just going to go this past week because I'm still upset. Fox, his name was Fox on Fox, right, and he got robbed. I thought he dominated that fight, and one judge had it 117, 111 for his opponent. That was complete robbery. That was disgusting. I thought Roy Jones won his Olympic match. We go back there. I think that was robbery. I think Keyshawn Davis got robbed in the Olympics this past week. There's been a lot of them that I disagree with. Those are the three most recent ones that stand out.
This is from Joe from Bethel Park, by the way. For me, I forgot the fighters' names, but it was an 8-round fight. And this guy lost 7 rounds easy. I mean, it wasn't close. But he got the decision. Well, his promoter ran the show, and that's how he got it. Exactly. But it was an awful, and it wasn't a major fight, no major names. But it was just an unbelievable decision. I said, how can you? It was 7-1. 7-1. My dad had 7-1. A friend of mine had 7-1. And another bad one was when Vinny Paz fought Harold Graham in England. Vinny won the fight. They showed it on tape delay on USA. So I'm thinking, because my cousin said, yeah, Vinny lost unanimous decision. I said, oh my God. I watched Vinny won the first round, second, third, 7, 8, 9. He lost maybe 3 rounds. The reason why is because Vinny was going to fight Jones next, I believe, or something like that. Yeah. He wasn't going to defend that particular belt he had. He gave it to Harold Graham. That was it.
You know what I was going to say? Manny Pacquiao versus Jeff Horn. Manny Pacquiao won that fight, but it was some politics going on. Pacquiao was leaving. I guess top rank, and he wasn't going to leave with that belt.
That's what I'm saying.
That was robbery. He destroyed Joe Horn.
And Vinny and Dana Rosenblatt too. Vinny split him up. Vinny knocked him down. Vinny won that fight, and they gave it to Rosenblatt. Go ahead, Jim.
The two that I have is definitely Oscar De La Hoya getting robbed against Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, stop! Floyd beat him. Floyd beat that man.
And one of the biggest ones in boxing history is Jersey Joe Walcott, who's in the Joe Louis.
He walked out.
Yeah.
Louis walked out.
Yeah, they had to make him go back in the ring. Yeah.
Good point.
Another question here is Ernie from Las Vegas. What were your thoughts on Mike Tyson's one-man show, and what other boxer would you want to see do that? Jim, we'll start with you.
Well, I tell you what, Mike Tyson in the second half of his life, man, I'm so proud of him. He got that... he got that weed farm or whatever you want to call it. But, the guy just, people love Mike Tyson. He got the charisma, And it was a great show, and I guess somebody wrote his book for him, and so that's a great book too.
I thought he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I thought that one-man show was as natural as it got.
Yeah.
It was from the heart up. He did a fantastic job. Luther, your thoughts on that one-man show?
Yeah, you know, that's one thing as we wrap up. Tyson, he just had that natural comedy. You go back and look at his post interviews or pre-interviews before these fights. I mean, he's the only one who could pull off, you know, I'll eat your kids, and the next sentence, praise God, praise Allah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just a walking comedian.
Who else could do that right now?
I don't know. I don't think there's anyone. There's no one out right now that could do that. Nobody has.
We know Wilder couldn't, but probably Fury.
No,
Fury
he could. Oh, stop. Oh, here you go with this.
You're right. He was
Fury
fantastic. Natural. I mean, I guess there was some guidelines for the script and everything, but he did an unbelievable job. Enjoyed that thoroughly, and I'm glad he's doing so well in the second part of his life.
No, Evander couldn't.
No. Vinny could. Vinny passed.
Vinny could, yeah.
Boom Boom did it in Boom Mancini did it in Youngstown not too long ago. He has quite a story as well. Well, again, another episode of the Boxing Authorities. We hope you enjoy watching us as much as we enjoy presenting this to you. For Luther Dupree Jr., Smoking Jim Frazier, I'm Claudio Rosano. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll check out next time.